Hey guys, Matt Waxler here at Wheels Through Time. Beautiful day at the museum. Today we decided to have some fun and get the 1949 Harley-Davidson Enduro Panhead racer out. Got my trusty co-pilot Kris. We're getting ready to fire this thing up momentarily and take it for a spin. Now, the machine, 1949 Harley-Davidson Panhead Enduro Racing sidecar. It is one awesome bike, and one of the neatest things about this bike, it was raced by a Harley-Davidson dealer out of Elgin, Illinois. His name was Clarence Fisher. And Fisher raced this in enduros all over the Midwest, including the Jack Pine run. The Jack Pine was 510 miles through Michigan. No roads, if you can imagine that. So this thing is an absolute tank. It's built to go, and we're going to fire it up here momentarily. Kris, you hopped on?
Yep, ready to go.
One kick every time. Now the bike's a 74 cubic inch overhead valve Panhead engine. It's set up with 3-speed in reverse. So you keep in mind the enduro races, especially the Jack Pine, it's a time distance rally. The whole idea of the event is to be on time. You follow a prescribed course, and you never know when you're going to have to back up and get yourself out of a jam, so that's why he added reverse. Now Kris over in the passenger seat here, he's got as tough a job as the driver, and he's throwing his weight all around. He's got to shift left and right, keep the rear wheel on the ground, or keep the side wheel on the ground, keep the side wheel up in the air, and just a ton of fun to ride this bike. Now, the passenger also is the guy that's in control of the speed, and he's got the map. So Kris over on the sidecar there has actually got speedometer set up, rigged to the front of the side hack. He's also got a roll chart which gives you the map, tells you where to turn, when to turn, and how fast to go. So we're getting this thing warmed up. We got a couple laps, and we ought to be blasting up the hill momentarily. Now this bike's been at Wheels Through Time probably about 10 or 12 years. We got the bike from a dear friend of ours, Joe Coopersmith, from Grants Pass, Oregon. And Joe is just a super guy, had an awesome eye for collecting old, rare racing motorcycles. And here we're going up the hill. All right. Now back behind the museum, we got about 2 or 3 miles of rough, unmaintained dirt roads back here, and this thing is just king of the hill. Now when they set this bike up, they knew it was an off-road machine, so what they did was they actually raised the bike. It's got incredible ground clearance. It's probably got a foot or more underneath the frame rails. So one thing that never happens, you don't bottom out. You can ride this bike over trees and logs. It's just a tank. It's such a blast to ride. It handles great, ton of torque and ton of power. So you're never really high in the RPMs on this bike. You're just really motoring up the hill, and it's geared nice and low. And again, it's a two-man gig anywhere you go on this bike. You got to get weight over the rear wheel. There we go. And what you quickly find out is the passenger is as worn out as the rider by the time the ride's over. So we're about a third of the way up, and the trail's getting bumpier, getting narrower. Tree in the road. Here's the fun part. All right. Woo! Up at the top of the hill. Just a quick look over the bike. You guys see it's got tons of trick stuff. You see all that ground clearance under there. And this thing was made for off-road. You got your stomper suicide clutch here. It's also integrated into the hand, so when you operate the hand clutch, it's just a slipper. It doesn't disengage the drive already, so it lets you get your RPMs back up when you're bogging on a hill. Now, one of the neat things to do with the ground clearance there, you see the rear end, they've added these plates, and the plates are just massive. What they do is they add about 4 inches of ground clearance, big beefy knobby tire, tons of ground clearance on tons of clearance on the fender. Again, 74 cubic inches, 3-speed, big old knobby tires, and you can see this sidecar here, totally custom set up from an original Harley sidecar frame. And you got your bush axe, your canteen, your toolbox. Here's Kris's roll chart here, and then the speedo as well. So that's how you keep track of your time. And there's just neat aspects all over this bike. Tons of spare parts strapped to it. You got your high pipe muffler, tons of places to grab onto and put your feet there. You can see the springs in the back. Extra oil line. And one thing's for certain, this guy wasn't getting stranded on the side of the trail. He had just about everything with him to keep on going, and just a neat piece of history here in as-race condition, something that we've probably, I don't know, probably ridden this bike hundreds of miles on the trails back here behind the museum, given countless visitors rides in the sidecar, and just a ton of fun and a piece of history. Ready? All right, man. This thing will just creep down the hill real nice. And it's such a big, heavy bike, you just use the throttle and you really can relax your arms pretty nice in the driver's seat. And I know you got it a lot rougher than I do. It's a whole different ball game than they're doing right now. Guys on their enduro bikes nowadays, they got 12 inches of suspension in the front and the back. This one's a rigid rear end. Kris has got a couple springs over there. That's about it. Woo! One thing about these old bikes, you gotta let your transmission and your engine do the work. Big steep hill like this, coming down the hill, you can burn up your brakes pretty quick. Let that transmission do the work, the engine do the work. You're just really kind of creeping down the hill in first gear. We're probably doing maybe 15 miles an hour right now. Got any pillow left underneath you? One of my favorite things to do on this bike is fly the chair. They have the sidecar so lightweight and tipped in that you can literally pull that sidecar wheel up and ride it about anywhere. And there you have it, guys. 1949 Harley-Davidson Jack Pine Enduro Racer. One awesome piece of work. Something that I'm sure Harley-Davidson founding fathers never imagined being built out of a piece of their equipment. So what a bike. What a great afternoon for giving it some exercise up the hill. We'll make sure and catch you guys next time. More rare machines and history coming at you from Wheels Through Time.